Karen?
It's like a basically the joyful goodness. Alex McFarland, we had him on our prayer list. It's been several weeks ago. He was in the Bachelorette out around Philadelphia.
Sure.
And he's now awake, opening his eyes, and talking, and he's moving, and so he's doing. We thought he had a brain, but he's doing a lot better. So that's a joyful.
Okay. So Alex McFarland had a injury. What kind of injury was it?
He was in a bad car wreck.
Oh, bad car wreck.
Yeah.
And they were greatly concerned that it might be longer term, but he's recovering well, so a prayer of thanks is appropriate.
Yes. And Jimmy Mason, the farmer, everybody knows him around here. He had a really bad stroke, and they now got him to Cardinal Hill, and they've had him up, and he's moving his left side pretty good, but still no responses on the right, but he's doing good. And they're really happy that he got him to Cardinal Hill.
Yeah, he's able to say some words as
Yes,
well. He's
yeah.
able to communicate now, which is something they didn't think was going to happen.
Right.
Okay. So another prayer of thanks and also continued hope for fuller recovery for Jimmy Mason from a stroke. Henry?
Kathy had skin cancer on her little toe and her big toe. And they operated on her yesterday for 7 hours. Well, Friday for 7 hours. She's recovered from that.
Is she in the hospital or at home? Is she in the hospital or at home?
No, she's home.
Home. Okay.
And Johnny Duval, of course, he fell and broke 3 ribs. And he punctured a lung. They went in yesterday and had to, his other lung was bleeding internally, so they operated on his lung and had to drain, the blood clots and stuff out of his lungs. And he's a UK, and he's in pretty bad shape.
Did you get both those, Russ? Okay. Are there prayer requests today? Buddy Maddox, do we have an update on Buddy? Russ, do you know anything new?
Well, we just know that he's at home. He stayed one night in the hospital, and they made it home. And as far as we know, everything's fine. That's really all I know.
So the last word we heard on Buddy was that, of course, he had was it hip or knee? Hip replacement, and that he is back at home and recovering well, last we heard. Any other prayer requests? Okay, Russ.
Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful and thankful for this Lord's Day. We're thankful, Father, for the beauty of it. We're grateful for safety and travel that we've had to be able to come today to participate in Bible class and to worship together the next hour. We're so grateful for all the blessings that you provide for us, and pray that you'll continue to be with us in all of our efforts to serve you from day to day. We're grateful, Father, that we can bring this prayer before you. Specifically, I'd like to mention a couple of prayers of thanksgiving to you. Alex McFarland, who was dealing with serious injuries from an auto accident. We're so grateful that he's showing improvement. Pray that you'll continue to bless him with further healing and be with all the family and all those who are helping him. We're also thankful, Father, that Jimmy Mason has been able to be located at Cardinal Hill. And we knew that he was dealing with serious implications from a stroke. And we pray that the improvement there that he's showing can continue, and that you will bless Jimmy and all those in his family and those that are helping him at Cardinal Hill. We pray, Father, for our sister Kathy Norris this morning. She has endured significant skin cancer removal, and we pray, Father, that she can be comforted in the upcoming days, and that will heal quickly for her, as quick as possible. Be with her, be with Henry, and all those that are helping her. We'd like to mention this morning, Father Johnny Duval. Johnny is injured himself pretty seriously, it sounds like, and I know you're aware of this situation from a fall that he had. Pray, Father, that the doctors there can deal with his lung injury, and that can be corrected and that heal for Johnny. We just pray that you'll be with Johnny and Lisa and all the family and all those there that are helping him at the hospital. We're also thankful this morning, Father, that our brother Buddy had a successful hip surgery this past week. We're thankful that you watched over him and the doctors, and that he was able to come home after staying one night in the hospital. And we just pray that you'll bless his recovery and he can be back up and moving, certainly without the pain that he was enduring prior to that. Pray this morning, Father, that you'll continue to bless our country. We're thankful, Father, for certainly the freedoms that we enjoy, and we're mindful of the conflict that we're involved in, and we're thinking of all those servicemen and women who are there in harm's way, thinking of their families that have been lost there. We pray that loss can be minimized as much as possible. Be with all of our leaders. Pray that they'll seek your guidance in the decisions related to this. And we just ask your blessings to be on everyone. We pray, Father, that you bless us during this hour. We're thankful for your word. And we look forward to the opportunity to stay together, to build ourselves up in faith and grow stronger. And pray that you be with Frank and others who are teaching this morning. We ask this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Russ. We'll continue our study today from the book of Luke. So we'd like to start out with a little bit of reminder. Who is Luke? He was a physician, absolutely. What else do we know about Luke?
Gentile.
He was a Gentile, absolutely. He was a companion of Paul, absolutely. He wrote 2 books of the Bible, Luke and Acts. Excellent. What was his profession? Physician, absolutely. So we find him to be one of the most detailed authors in the Bible. In fact, the 2 books, Luke and Acts, make up more words in the New Testament than any other author. Not the number of books, but the number of words. We'll be reading from Luke chapter 6, verse 6, where we'll pick up. On another Sabbath, he, that being Jesus, entered the synagogue and was teaching. And a man was there whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and the Pharisees watched him to see whether he would heal on the Sabbath, so that they might find a reason to accuse him. But he knew their thoughts. And he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come and stand here." And he rose and stood there. And Jesus said to them, "I ask you, is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to destroy it?" And after looking around at them all, he said to him, "Stretch out your hand." And he did so, and his hand was restored. But they were filled with fury and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. What happened here? Brady, what happened here? I catch it?
I wish it was.
Okay. What happened here, Rick?
Jesus, being who he is, forgiving and a rightful God, took this man and did this miracle to prove a point that the point being him and Jesus Christ to do. He can do anything.
So, is this a miracle that we'll see on TV sometime? No. Is this a miracle like having a baby? Our society calls that a miracle. Is it a miracle like that?
Childbirth is a miracle in itself, but it's not compared to this.
It's not a biblical miracle, is it? There is a difference. There's a difference. We're talking about a man that had a withered hand. What's a withered hand?
Maybe crippled up,
Karen?
maybe like crippled up.
It could be crippled. You know, I have seen people that can't open their hand, like, right? It can also be a hand that is not whole, right? It didn't grow like the other hand, right? It's only partial. Or it could be a hand that was injured, right? It was maybe in a fire or something else that damaged the hand. We don't know the details. Could have been any of those, right? But if it was, would our modern medicine be able to restore it? After all the wisdom of man, we couldn't have restored it, and certainly couldn't have restored it in an instant. So Jesus tells him to raise up his hand and stretch out, and it's healed, it's whole. Right? That's a biblical miracle. They can see the change in the person's hand and witness the power of God. How did the Pharisees react to this happening?
They weren't happy.
They were angry. In fact, they were trying to figure out how to kill him. Why?
He did it on the Sabbath.
He did it on the Sabbath. Why was that a problem for them?
Sabbath day being their holy day, no work shall be done on that day.
So God had given, through the Ten Commandments, right, to hold the Sabbath day as holy and not to work on it, right?
Right.
And so Jesus is asking them, is it right on this holy day to do good or to do evil? And in other places, he's asking, if your donkey or mule or whatever it is in a ditch and it's going to die because you don't get it out, are you going to pull it out on the Sabbath day or are you not? Right? If you would do that for an animal that belongs to you, why can't I heal this man who's in front of you? Who's Lord of the Sabbath? Jesus. Jesus is Lord even of the Sabbath. So he makes the rules. He's in charge of it, right? So he will not violate the law by virtue of who he is.
What work was this that he done by healing? How could that be a work?
Well, remember that this group of people said that if you took your mat that you had slept on and picked it up and carried it to another place, that was a work.
Okay?
That was how closely they defined it. And you may recall that I mentioned when I was in Israel for a couple of weeks that I found out that if you flipped a light switch up and down, the Jews at that time considered that a work.
Really?
Yeah. That is how closely they defined it.
That's certain sectors of them.
That was a restrictive sect, absolutely, of the Jews. But is that any different than what we're reading about, though? Not really. So they were so holding on to the details, right? Did God say that kind of detail? No, God didn't say that. That's man adding to what God said, right? They were holding on to what men said so strongly that they were destroying God's word in the process. And now, because they hold on to it this way, they're ready to kill Jesus. God is choosing to use the hard hearts of the scribes and the Pharisees to set in motion the steps to the cross. This is a step toward the cross. This group of people that represents the leadership of the Jews so strongly are going to eventually kill the Son of God. And this is a step along that path. Let's look at Luke chapter 6 and verse 12. In these days, he, again that means Jesus, went out to the mountain to pray. And all night he continued in prayer to God. And when day came, he called his disciples and chose from them 12, whom he named apostles. Simon, whom he named Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James and John and Philip, and Bartholomew and Matthew, and Thomas, and James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon who was called the Zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. What's the other name for Matthew? We read it earlier in Luke. Levi. Absolutely. Levi. Please note that before Jesus chose these apostles, he had spent all night in prayer with the Father. Jesus is God, but he is also one with the Father. He's God in the flesh, and he's man. Yet he is obedient to the Father, even unto death. Okay, now, I'm very excited about the next part of the lesson this morning. And you say, why? Right? Well, I consider myself a student of the Bible. I've read the Bible many times over, taught many lessons, listened to many lessons. And it's kind of rare for me to find something I didn't know or hadn't read or thought about before in the Bible. And we're getting ready to look at that. Something that was new to me. It's not new to scholars. I did some looking up on it. Many scholars have studied this and found interesting ways to look at it, but it's new to me. We're going to start at Luke chapter 6, verse 17. And he, that is Jesus, came down with them and stood on a level place. Please note that. He came down with them and stood on a level place, with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon, who came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. And those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured, and all the crowd sought to touch him. Power came out from him and healed them all. Now we start to come to the key verses, starting in Luke chapter 6 and 20. And he, that is Jesus, lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, and we're getting ready to get into the Beatitudes. Okay? Now, I'm very used to the gospel, the four gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, being parallel accounts. But there are only two accounts of the Beatitudes. One's in Matthew and one's in Luke. I want you to look with me at the account in Matthew chapter 5 and verse 1. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 1. Seeing the crowds, he, that is Jesus, went up on the mountain. And when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, listen to the first beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Okay? Now go back, if you will, to Luke 6 and 20. And he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor." Not poor in spirit, poor. "For yours is the kingdom of God." They are different. There are only 4 Beatitudes in Luke. There are 8 in Matthew. Now, some would look at that and say, well, that's obviously referring to the same sermon. Luke decided to just edit it a little bit, leave the others out. Do you think that Jesus always taught unique things every time he spoke to people, even though he was talking to different people? He went around a lot of different areas. You know, a preacher today will have a really good sermon that he'll save for his gospel meetings. And he may go to 4 or 5 gospel meetings, and he'll use that same sermon on each one. Is it not reasonable that Jesus would tailor his sermons to the audience that he had? And that this is a different sermon. It's not the same one in Matthew. Some of the key thoughts are the same, but Jesus is talking to a different audience in a different place and giving different key points to them. And notice this difference, which will keep coming through as we go through these Beatitudes. The first one is about spirit. Poor in spirit. Okay? When we get to the latter ones, it just says poor. And we'll continue down that way. Is there a virtue to being poor? Why would he say just poor? Poor in spirit, we understand. That's humble, humility. Recognizing your humility. But poor, is there a virtue to being poor? Why was he saying that to this audience? Any thoughts?
Should break our idea of self-reliance, that we're relying on someone else than me being able to meet all of my needs.
Certainly, if I'm living hand to mouth, then I recognize the futility of what I have to sustain myself. I need something more than myself. That's certainly true, right? Is there a virtue to just being poor, though? If I don't recognize that? Not necessarily, okay? Who was the audience he was speaking to here? The generality of it is, in this one, he lifted up his eyes on his disciples. Were his disciples rich or poor? Think of the fisherman who just left all and followed him. Think of the tax collector who just left the booth and just followed him. These are not rich people. These are poor. He's talking directly to his disciples here. In the first one, I think he's speaking to a wider audience, all of those who had come to him from many regions. And here he's talking directly to his disciples, those who have given everything up to follow him. And so he says, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God." By following me and giving up all you have been granted the greatest gift you could possibly receive. Luke 6 and 21. Blessed are you who are hungry now. In Matthew, it says hunger and thirst for righteousness. It's a spiritual point of view, definitely. But this is you who are hungry now. If you're poor, are you richly fed? Are you full? Not in that society. You are hungry. You don't know where your next meal comes from. And so he's telling his disciples, blessed are you who are hungry now, for you shall be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, not who mourn, but who weep now. If you feel the weight of the world on you right now, and his disciples would, because they saw the rejection just previous to this by the leadership of the Jews. If you weep now, you shall laugh. What kind of joy did the disciples receive when Jesus rose from the dead? You think they were happy? I would say they were joyous. They rejoiced in seeing Jesus risen from the grave. (6 and 22). Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you, and revile you, and spurn your name as evil on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for so their fathers did to the prophets. This is very, very similar to the passage in Matthew, enough so that I don't really bring it out. So basically, when you are persecuted, when you are harmed for my name's sake, for Jesus' name's sake, then your reward in heaven is great. And they did this to the prophets, so they will do to you. Any questions on that? It's totally new to me that the Beatitudes had two very different focus in the audience. Okay. Let's go down to Luke 6 and 27. Now here comes some passages that I struggle with. I'll be honest with you, because these are hard to do. These are difficult things to do. Luke 6 and 27. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. That's not the way I was raised. And my parents were good Christians, but, you know, I was raised with a lot of boys in the neighborhood, and if I didn't defend myself, I was in trouble. But this is saying I need to be praying for those. If I'm going to follow Christ, I have to have a little different attitude. Luke 6 and 29. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you. And from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. Golden rule, right? Very difficult to do, to follow Christ in this. Not that we shouldn't. We should absolutely aspire to this. But it's one of the greatest challenges for me, I have to be honest with you. It is very difficult. Sid?
Is it an opportunity to educate us and get us to train the idea that we're supposed to separate the sin from the sinner?
I think so.
Right. So the idea that we're being harmed by an individual is one thing, but the idea that we're being harmed by sin through an individual can be another thing, right? And then for the Christian walk, we at some point are going to have to come to terms with that. So it seems as it's an introduction or suggestion into figuring out, because if we do try to submit rather than holding firm to, it's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard to get done. and we allow that to be our decision, our completion in that moment, but recognizing that how could I have handled that differently, and having to figure out how to divide something in order to fulfill what Christ said. We at some point will have to address that there is a difference between the individual that just hit me and the sin that caused the individual to hit me.
And I agree with you. But there's another stretch beyond this, okay? It's one thing for me to receive abuse or receive bad from someone else and to only give good in response. It's another thing for someone to do bad to my spouse or to my child and me not be protective. But he's not saying that here. He's talking about me as an individual, not as a parent or a spouse. And so that bears some thought too. How does that fall into this?
I would have to start the conversation on that you and I, as heads of the household, our family, our spouse, and our children are extensions of us. So we are initially, to begin the conversation, not by any means I'm prepared to answer that question. I'm expected to still hold firm to what's expected of me here, to be able to continue through acknowledging that the sin from the individual is different than the individual. How can I still love the individual and hate the sin? For that way, I'm held in contempt if I can't figure that out, to my understanding of Scripture.
Well, and going with that too, it's my job to train my child to do this very thing.
Yes.
I can't hold vengeance. If somebody wrongs her, do I want to throat punch them? Absolutely. Do I need to? No, because I'm training her. If I'm training her, then me telling her, well, it's okay, honey, love your neighbor, and then I'm holding this grudge, I'm not training her. She sees that. She's not done. So as an extension, I have to train, we have to train, Sid and I have to train her to follow these verses the same as we do.
Very true. Very true. Wilbur?
Yeah, that's what Jesse's saying. That's the kicker. That comes back to us. Oftentimes when you think of someone that's an enemy, it's someone you hate. And if you let that build and fester, it becomes like a cancer and it eats at you. I've seen that in family before,
Yes.
even with son and mother, and wouldn't go to a funeral and wouldn't help their mother when they were sick because of that, and that hatred, that all over something silly. But the same way though with the enemy thought here, you're not only praying for them, but in doing so you're praying for yourself, that your heart is softened and you don't hold that animosity, and to not do that, it leads to a place that's not good.
Agreed. Agreed. Good comment, Wilbur. Any other? Yeah, Henry?
There are times though when somebody does something wrong to you, and you say you forgive them, but the law does not. It requires punishment.
True.
And also, like, in wartime, somebody shoots at you, you don't forgive them back.
True. True. Justice is always right. It doesn't supersede mercy, but justice has its place too, right? Because we have a just God, and that's how he behaved. Okay, I think we got time to look at another passage here. Luke 6:32. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. If we're going to follow Christ, we have to be different from the world, don't we? So if we grow up with the world's rules, and all of us have in one way or another, that's something that we have to fight to some degree. The world has taught us its set of rules, but God has a different set of rules. We're a unique people, and we have to live differently than what the world has set the pace for. We have to pray for those who persecute us. We have to forgive. We have to show mercy to people who have shown no remorse. Difficult things. Difficult things. A lifetime of work and prayer and dedication to God is the only chance we have to overcome that kind of problem. Carol?
Sorry. It's difficult, but something, the Bible tells us is that, and it's like a habit, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. There's been multiple people in my past that I struggled with years of how do I forgive this person, and I think God gives us the answer. You don't see them as your enemy. When you see them as a person who has likely gone through, the only reason people do those things is either because of some chemical imbalance or because they had something bad happen to them. And whenever you see it that way, whenever you pity them and you feel sorry for them, it makes the forgiveness easier. When you see them as a child rather than an adult, of why do these things? Don't question why. And in the end, it ultimately, and there's still circumstances that it can be very difficult, but the more and more you practice, it becomes easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. What brings to my mind is the verse that says, if I can't love my brother who I can see, how can I love my God who I cannot see? Right? And love covers a multitude of sins.
And then to walk that into your neighbor, beyond your brother, right? To walk that, so it's a step, it's a growth, right? To at one point to be able to love your neighbor the way you do your God. It's overwhelming sometimes.
It is. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. It's a lifetime. Yes, Philip?
Going back to verse 30, where he talks about give to those who beg from you or beg of you, and if he takes your coat, give him the tunic also. Just reading that, it comes off as, I guess what I first think about is like the people that have made a way of life to do the panhandling, and
Yeah.
do you feel bad for not giving to every one of those that you see, on the side of the road? It talks about, in my concordance, it talks about, using, I haven't read the version yet, but Matthew 7:6, about Christians should help those who are truly needy.
Yes.
And then they're not required to give to those who are not to give foolishly, I guess.
Yes.
And then it talks about don't give to a lazy person who is not in need, because that could do more harm than good.
Absolutely. So, a person who won't support his family is worse than an infidel. There's another passage, right? Along the same line. So we need to keep those in mind. Also, be as wise as serpents, right? But as innocent as doves. So there's a balance there. and my generosity and using reason to what that person really needs, right?
Well, just to go along with what Philip said, because I think as our society, we think that giving has to be monetarily, and it does not.
Right.
So, like, for example, panhandling, because we often struggle with that, right? Someone that's not able to do for themselves, and we wonder if we should be generous to them. You can be generous in so many other ways. Instead of handing them a dollar that you've earned, you could simply say a prayer for them in that moment, because we forget that we're able to do that as well. Or you could give them a kind word, give them encouragement, talk to them. There's so many ways that we can give these people that we forget, that we just think that it boils down to monetary goods, and it doesn't.
One of the things that we're careful about when we give out money from the treasury here to someone that comes and asks us is if they believe they need gasoline, we go to the pump with them and fill up the vehicle. We don't give them the cash. There's a big difference between those two. All right, we're past time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.